All right, and we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of our Wonsulting October speaker series. So excited. Hi guys, my name is Shuri, and I'm the social media intern of Wonsulting, if you guys don't know. Today we have very special people joining us. But before we start, the usual question: where are you guys tuning from? Tell us. Comment down below in the comment section. Where are you guys tuning in from? Ooh, I see Ronnie. Let's go. Lakshay. Woo, from EA. Let's go, Jonathan. Let's go, Tiara. What are your energy levels like, guys? Comment down below. Are you guys a 1000? Are you guys like a -10? I hope not. I hope you guys are all staying positive and testing negative, of course. Let's go ahead and bring in our panel. So let's first welcome Nina. Let's go. Hi, Nina. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. You look great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, usually I would be in my PJs if I had the choice, but today I'm actually in the office, so I have to dress the part.
It's okay. Like working from home, everyone wears like pajamas to go to work, right?
Yeah, I feel more motivated when I actually like get up and get ready in the morning, so I'm happy about that for sure.
Great to have you here. All right. So let's welcome Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hey, great to be here.
Excited to have you.
Yeah, glad to join. Been part of Wonsulting for a while, but now you're just front and center. That's dope.
Yeah. Now you're part of like our event and we're so excited to have you. Let's welcome Melanie. Hashtag Melanie to welcome her.
Hi guys, I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys today. So yeah.
We are too. Nice background, by the way.
Thank you. It's my vision board.
We have Grace, who's in the
Hello.
woods.
Yeah, I'm super hyped right now. Yeah, definitely in the woods. I love nature. So that's like my background is nature.
Ooh, and some of you guys would know Grace from Design Buddies. We just hit like 10K today, right, Grace?
Yeah, yesterday. It's super exciting. And we got Discord partnership, and I'm super excited for Design Buddies. And Jonathan and Jerry have been amazing strategic advisors for us. So I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah, and if you guys are from Design Buddies, comment Design Buddies in the group chat inside the comment section. All right, so let's get started with our first question then. So, welcome guys to our panel. I'll start right off with what are your main responsibilities in your current roles? So I know you guys are all working in the creative industry. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys do. So maybe we would start with Nina. Would you like to go first?
Okay, so my main responsibility, I work for a startup. So my main responsibility is anything that has to do with design, but I also do like back end things. I do a lot of prototyping, a lot of researching. Sometimes I do a little coding, but most of the time it's prototyping all the way, every day, all day long. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool, really interesting. Coding. All right, let's go with Mike. How about you?
Sure. So I'd say my responsibilities are definitely like a bunch of wireframing, prototyping as well. I also do like usability testing in which like I work on the app and then we work with the people that have been like onboarded and see like run through the typical user flows that person would use and troubleshoot from there and see if there's like any errors, anything that could be improved on and get any feedback from there. All in all, it's like pretty fun, but I'll also be touching upon like uh, this other startup I've been at called Seed Stages since I signed an NDA for UNICEF, so my responses are rather limited for that. But there, sorry, but all in all, it's like there's a bunch of overlap though. but for seed stages at least, there's a bunch of like wearing a bunch of hats because it's like a startup setting. Sorry for the essay for response.
No, it was interesting. Who else is interested in UNICEF? I used to do like a lot of like projects in school where we raise money for UNICEF. I love it. So that's interesting. Grace, how about you?
Yeah, so at EA, I am interning as a UX designer for both the summer and fall as I'm finishing up my last year of school. And so for EA, you can work in the game studio department and be involved with developing games, or the tech department or the marketing department. So I work in the tech space, and I work on a lot of player and employee experience stuff. So I work on a wide, my team is called Experience Design, and we work on a wide variety of projects spacing from player experience to employee experience. So I've done a lot of like end-to-end design, like from bringing an idea to a shipped product. I also did some marketing design, a lot of user research interviews. So a lot of good stuff there. And on top of being a designer, I'm also a community builder at Design Buddies. So I respond to messages, I coordinate partnerships, making sure no fires go on, and just like making sure that people are feeling safe and included, and I feel like can grow with the community as well. So I also create a lot of content for social media. So I kind of do both design, community management, and social media content creation.
Wow, Grace. Like, what a huge multitasker. I'm sure you learned a lot, like, during your time in EA especially.
Yeah, it's really wholesome, fun team that I worked with, or I'm currently working with.
Oh, and also, Grace got a full-time offer with EA.
Yeah, thank you.
Congrats, girl.
Thank you. I'm still recruiting though, so yeah.
Okay. How about you, Melanie? What are your main responsibilities in your role?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a product designer focused in the healthcare space for inRecovery, which is a substance addiction recovery platform. We're partnered with Karen, the largest treatment facility in the USA. So my work is focused on designing the experience for the clinicians and patients. Those are my target users. I work very closely with developers, the business stakeholders, and my process is really figuring out the problem, concepting, user research, user interviews, creating personas, journey maps, user workflow diagrams, wireframing, prototyping, and eventually shipping out the product and conducting user testings and A/B testing or AA testing.
Interesting. Super interesting. You guys do a lot. I'm so impressed with all of you guys. So I think like you guys have a really exciting job role, but what makes you guys excited to go to work every morning? So maybe we can go with Melanie first.
Yeah, I think for me, so before working as a product designer, I was a graphic and brand designer for commercial real estate, right? And I felt like within my position that I was kind of just helping my brokers get richer, and I didn't really understand the mission or the value behind my company. And for me, creating experiences or designing and adding value into other people's lives is really important, aligning with my values as well. And I feel like that's probably the most exciting thing for me, at least when I wake up and go to work.
Definitely. That's the reason why it's so important for you to choose the right company that has values in line with you.
Yeah, 100%. And understand their culture before you join the company too.
All right, so let's go with Grace.
Yeah, so at EA, games have been a large part of my childhood. I used to not really be into school. I actually studied bioengineering, computer engineering in school, but that's just because my parents. So all my life, I've just been playing games, imagine myself as like an anime artist or a game designer. So games have been a huge part of my childhood, and being able to work for a gaming company, be able to influence and positively influence players really just motivates me to go to work. And at Design Buddies, fun fact, a lot of professors actually discourage me to pursue design. They told me to stay in my lane, how I'm not qualified. And so that's why I built Design Buddies, because I just wanted to like make some design friends. I didn't have any mentors and stuff at school. And from Design Buddies, I shared my story a few times like on LinkedIn, and I've gotten people telling me that design, like they had similar experiences in their life where they had parents, professors discouraging to pursue design, but after joining Design Buddies, they're motivated to keep doing design. So similar stories like that, going from like adversity to feeling empowered, people sharing out with me just keeps motivating me to keep pursuing design and keep building Design Buddies at the same time.
I love that, Grace. I mean, a lot of times, like when we grow up, like we might not necessarily do what we want to do. Like sometimes it's something like we're forced to do. But I love like how your journey transitioned from doing something that your parents asked you to do to finding a way to do your own passion. And I like how you're inspiring so many other people to do the same. So great job.
Thank you.
Nina, what about you? What makes you excited to go into work every morning?
I think the best part of my job is I think a lot of designers have to develop like empathy, and I really like putting myself in the user's shoes and being able to understand, like, I think because when I went to school as a graphic designer, it was very like, oh, this looks nice, the composition looks nice. But then when I became a UX designer, it was a different gear. I really had to think about other people, not how things are supposed to look. And like even like developing in my role, I think I had to understand that I'm making this product for someone else, and understanding, hey, like they might not understand why this button is like not green, because like for our nature, it's really, really cool to understand the psychology, how people's mind work and how they interact with our products. I think that's the coolest part of my job, is being able to empathize with the users and help them understand and navigate through our site.
Definitely. I love that. Especially because you get to put yourself in the customer's shoes and like imagine yourself using that. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Mike, what about you?
Sure. Honestly, I really enjoy the role of a UX designer because it allows me to work from beginning to end of like a product development cycle, and it's rather exciting to see something from like the low fidelities to eventual high fidelities, or like the MVP, as you might call it. I know I'm tossing a bunch of like tech lingo, but in simpler terms, I like building things from start to finish. It's really exciting.
Same. I don't know why I like the nitty-gritty work sometimes. It's amazing. So, what is a typical day for you guys? Because you guys do a lot, like your role, you have so much to do on your plate. So what does your daily schedule look like for you? Mike, do you want to start?
Sure. So typically there's usually like a team all hands in which like it's the design team, it's like the engineering team, like everybody's all together. And then from there we just like pair off and do our own things. But what I do is, like previously mentioned, I do user testing in which like we run through the app, see like anything that like if there are any glaring errors anywhere. In addition, I also make like mock-ups for the current app and see like how it fits in terms of like the overall scope of where the product is setting. And then from there, you check in with like engineering to see if there are any inconsistencies with like the designs and like when you eventually push the engineering team. But I'd say day to day, it's like rather different, as startup environments require you wear many hats. But like that's just like a general like glimpse into a day.
Definitely. And I absolutely love that about startups, because startups is where you get to learn different skills and put yourself in different situations. So I think that's honestly a really great situation for you. So anyone else who's working in a startup, startup in the comment section. Yeah, all right. So let's go to Nina. What about you? What is a typical day for you?
Okay, my day usually starts out with lots of coffee and lots of emails and lots of feedback that I have to make edits to. And a lot of time it's like so like I start out looking over what I've made, so I have like different priorities during the week. Some weeks I have like prototyping, some weeks I have research. This week, so I'll just run you through like this week. So this week we're kind of finalizing our prototype and making sure that everything looks right and that I'm translating my design correctly to the engineer. And I think that's really important, is that designers and engineers are different people, or we use different sides of our brain. So it can get a little difficult sometimes to communicate like, hey, I want things to look this way, but then the engineers will code something that's a little different. So it's a lot of back and forth. No, but I do love working with them because I would never be able to do like that back end stuff as amazing as they would. I just do, like the creative stuff and making sure that, like how things will look on the outside and communicating that to the users. They do like the real nitty gritty work. And then towards the end of the day, I kind of have a meeting with the CEO and kind of talk to him about, okay, like this is what's happening. I don't think we could push this through, but let's find another solution. And it's mostly emails, meetings, back and forth. But that's usually my typical day.
Interesting. Love that. And like, I think communication is really important when it comes to that, because like not all your designs can be materialized by like the back end, but then like at the same time you want it to look nice, so you need front end to do the same. So love that. Grace, what about you? What is a typical day for you?
Yeah, so each day is pretty different, but I always start off with a lot of coffee. Sometimes I go for a run. Fun fact, I've actually started training again for one day. My goal is to run a marathon after 5 years of retirement from being a competitive cross-country and track runner. So starts with that, and then I have meetings. Really depends how many meetings. Like last week, I reached my personal record of meetings of 40 meetings because it was a user research heavy week. And this week I'm working on more design systems. So making sure everything is aligned, everything is named, all the components in Figma are set up correctly to be handed off to developers. So each week is really different. And my team called Experience Design, we basically kind of sometimes operate like a startup because we're one of the few design teams in the tech umbrella of EA. So my team is responsible for over 50 different products, from play-facing to employee-facing. So each day is definitely quite different. Sometimes I have one-on-ones with my manager/mentor. Sometimes I have meetings with engineers. Sometimes I have meetings with product managers. And I do a lot of presentation and doing a lot of defending design decisions and seeing how ways I can use my design, like how I test it and measure value. And yeah, typically a typical week, we have like a team all hands, team critique, team happy hour. Tomorrow we have like a 5-hour Halloween party. Super fun, everyone dressed up in costumes. So I really enjoy working at EA because like everyone's super chill compared to medical devices and research, which is the other industries I've been in. And there's also always a lot of events and everything too. And after work hours, I always have like 1 or 2 other meetings regarding like partnerships for Design Buddies. I run Design Buddies events. Sometimes I have coffee chats with people. So yeah, sometimes I speak at more events as well. So that's how a typical day is, usually mixed between 3 to 10 meetings a day. Is how a typical day is like for me.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
Usually about 6 or 7. Yeah, that's what I tried. That's why I have a lot of coffee.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys, that's like time management right there. Comment coffee if you guys love coffee too, because I love coffee, and so does Nina and Grace. All right, Melanie, what about you? What's a typical day like for you?
I feel like that's everyone during COVID. Starting off my day with a good cup of cold brew coffee, that's number one. But other than that, the developers on my team, I work with developers actually in Russia, right? So we're in different time zones. So typically I will try to get on early in the morning and just kind of check up with them. I know it's late for them overnight, but I'll just check up on work that they've been transitioning through and shipping our product and etc. Other than that, checking on my emails, we'll have our daily stand-ups just to check on everyone, ask everyone how they're feeling during COVID, mentally and everything. And other than that, it's definitely different every single week, almost depending on what stage you're in. For example, for me, lately, I've been working on creating a team lead dashboard for our clinicians. So a lot of work I've been doing lately is just interviewing our clinicians and seeing their pain points and seeing what issues they're having with monitoring the clinicians below them, and by figuring out what the insights are, what the KPIs are, and everything. So lately, that's kind of what I've been doing.
Interesting. That's really good. And I think I like how you mentioned how different it is with COVID, and people are caring a little bit more about mental health as well. So, what would you guys say is like, how has COVID affected you guys in your daily jobs? So, maybe you can start with Nina.
Okay. So COVID, okay. I would say that in the beginning, so I had graduated December of last year, and I was pretty scared that I wouldn't find a job. And I think when I landed this job, I was pretty happy, but I was scared. Because I don't know if they need me. I'm so new. They have to teach me and walk me through everything. But I think I would say that I'm just really lucky, and I'm really grateful for the fact that I'm able to have, a full-time job right now. And I get to come into the office. Of course, we take the precaution. But for the first 2 weeks, it was really rough because we had to work from home. And I think it's really hard to separate your work life from your home life when you're just working at home. So how do you separate what you're doing? I feel like my mind's constantly running all the time. So I need different spaces. I need different spaces to be able to live, a very well-balanced life. And it was really difficult to have to, I still have to deal with that now, because it's really hard to, go out and be able to enjoy normal life. But of course, I'm very thankful for my health and the job that I'm in right now.
Definitely agree with you, because now that we don't actually have flexible work hours, it's hard to differentiate between oh, this is going to be your work hours and this is going to be your rest time. So It's important for us to sort out that specific time for us to take a break from work. All right. So Grace, how about you? How has COVID helped and harmed your job?
COVID changed my life. To be honest,
Girl.
changed my life. I am thriving right now, because when in the beginning in 2019, I was kind of a little lost in my career, but then COVID, I just feel like at first when COVID happened, I was I used to do a lot of in-person meetups with local artists, just people from this group called Subtle Asians Bay Area. And I thought I was super fun. It was nice escape from my parents and everything. And then COVID happened. I'm like, oh God, I'm stuck at home. I am going to be so sad. I can't go out. And then instead of just kind of dwelling in oh, I can't do something, I just focus on what I can do and the resources. And I realized that COVID makes people more connected online. So I reached out to more people on LinkedIn, and that's how I actually landed my internship at EA. By cold messaging on LinkedIn. And I also I founded Design Buddies in April 2020 of this year, and it kind of blew up because I took on the two trends of COVID, people wanting to stay connected, but also design as a really booming field right now. So yeah, that's how COVID essentially helped me land my internship, because people are now ready, it's more normal to talk in the phone or talk on Zoom instead of meeting in person. And Design Buddies has grown, and I don't think I'll ever really rarely go back to meeting in person, because online I can talk to anybody. That's how I'm here right now. And I don't have to commute. I don't have to pay for coffee. It's so amazing. So I think I am thriving. To be honest. Yeah.
The last part.
The coffee part.
Yeah.
So inspiring, Grace.
Thank you.
# gracefully handling COVID. But yeah, Grace, wonderful job. Like they say, when there's a problem, right, there's a huge opportunity for you to do something about it. And if you can take advantage of that, you can do something amazing. So Grace has shown us a perfect example of how to thrive in a very difficult time. So guys, everything is possible. Stay positive.
Yeah.
Melanie, what about you? How has COVID helped and harmed your job?
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like same thing with Grace. COVID is actually a blessing because it makes you realize what you really want in life, where you want to put your time into, where you want to put your energy into, and what you really value, right? Because honestly, if COVID didn't happen, I would still be in commercial real estate. I would not have made the full jump to product design, and found my career there, which I fully love. But also at the same time, it also made me realize, so for example, I do have a entrepreneurship like background and mindset, and it's kind of made me go back on that journey and create something of my own on my own time. So there's that also.
Great. Yeah, I love like how COVID has given us time to think about how we've been living our life and how we want to live the rest of our life as well. So I love that insight, Melanie. If you guys found this insightful, comment insightful in the comment section. All right, so I'll move to the next question. I know this is like a bit different from the previous questions that I asked you guys, but what do you like least about your workplace? I know like when you start off work, you always have this imagination that everything will be perfect and nice, but there's always parts where we don't really like that much. For me, it's like going through a lot of emails. But what about you guys? So Melanie, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a very tough question to answer because I feel like product design or UX and UI, I think it's so fun. But other than that, maybe the only thing is like not having enough time to work on your designs where you feel rushed and you might not have enough time to research on your product or the feature that you're building just because you got to execute on time and ship it out fast. So that's probably the only issue for me.
Makes sense. All right. Grace, what about you?
Yeah, so I can talk. So mostly, like I love my job. It's super fun. My team is super wholesome. But sometimes, like at a large company, like the deadlines get shifted because development priorities or like business gets kind of shifted. So sometimes projects get shifted, and let's say if I worked a long time on something, it ends up like the deadline being shifted or not shipped at all. So yeah, the unpredictability. But there's nothing really you can do about it. I just like to treat these as a learning experience. Like every time I work on a project, I always learn something new. And for design buddies, most of the time it's like 99.9% of people are really wholesome, but sometimes you have people coming in to cause problems. So we ban them right away. And I have a huge team of moderators. I have over like 40, like 10 admins and 30 moderators helping me out. And we kind of like moderating as well, all from different time zones as well. So we have that just to get rid of the trolls and people who want to cause problems. But I guess that's not something I don't like. I mean, I don't like it when people cause problems, but I always try to think of a solution or like something I could take away, like whether I can learn from like a deadline being shifted or like if I can take on more help to help moderate. So that's how I like to like kind of combat that.
I love how positive your thinking is like. So amazing. And you're chasing away the trolls.
Yeah. I yeet out the trolls. I say yeet a lot, meaning like, get rid of them.
Mike, what about you? What do you like least about your job?
Sure. So in terms of that, something I really dislike about work is when people think that UI UX designers are just like pixel pushers, I guess, and we're just doing like the visual element. And they should probably know that UI is only like one aspect of it and how like it's tied to like UX in terms of like making it function well and work well. At, at the moment, I can't say I've faced like that mindset too much, but I definitely say that some people think that we're just glorified like graphic designers, and we're definitely more than that.
Definitely. I think that's a huge misconception that people don't, I mean, like, people might not be aware of. So they are more than just that, guys. All right. Nina, what about you? What do you like least about your work?
What do I like least about my work? I think it's definitely the fact that I genuinely enjoy my job, but it was also my hobby at some point. And like I used to take like classes outside of like school for like UX, and that was like something that I thought was fun. But now it's like become one, and it's really hard. Now I have to go find another hobby to to do. And I think the least, it's definitely the user, like having to interview a lot of people. And I think it's so essential to UX design, but sometimes people just don't give the best answers. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, what do you think about, the way this runs? And they're like, I don't know. Like, I don't really feel anything for it. Like, I didn't work really hard on this or anything. But I think that's my least favorite part. But even then, any feedback is very important to the design that I do. But it's difficult to hear hard criticism, but it's still an amazing like feedback to know, if things are working or not working.
Definitely, 100%. And I mean, I think it's great that your hobby actually became your job, personally for me, because then you don't have to work in a day in your life anymore.
Or work extra hard.
Yeah. And I think criticism is so important for us to like improve the current ideas that we have, and we might not necessarily see a problem since we're working like hours on it, right? So it's really great to get criticism. So I think I asked you guys questions more on like what it's like to work, but like how did you guys start your career in this field? So let's go with Grace. Grace, you have a very unconventional career line and career. So
I do actually. Yeah, growing up, I want to be an anime artist. I had no interest in ever being in STEM. I was that random kid who always screamed in class to keep people on their toes and draw anime and manga instead of paying attention in class. And I'll play a lot of video games and be like a guild leader. And I was like max level on MapleStory. I was really into that, really nerdy, but also loves like entertaining people. And I also ran cross country and track, and I was kind of really involved in that, and had big dreams, had big goals to run the Olympics and stuff. And then college happened, and then I majored in bioengineering because I want to learn how to biohack myself to run faster by learning the ins and outs of human biology so I can hack myself. And I was influenced by my peers. I grew up in SF Bay area, so a lot of kids wanted to be doctor, engineer, lawyer. So I was like, okay, I'll be doctor, engineer. So that means I'll be like successful, right? But I learned the hard way that I should never ever be chasing something just for my resume. And so I quit my research lab, and then I kind of went into VR, and I learned how to make VR games by watching YouTube tutorials at this lab at my school, and kind of got into game design, game dev, VR, all that cool stuff. Did an internship in that last summer in Tube Surgical. I was a virtual reality robotic surgery game developer intern. That was my actual job title. So I made games to train surgeons to do surgery in VR. Super cool. But I learned that medical devices wasn't the industry I want to be in after experiencing like the culture of EA. And then I graduated my undergrad last summer, and I started grad school right after because I had no idea what I want to do in life, because I was like, okay, I have a bioengineering degree. I kind of interested in tech and games, but I have no idea, and I feel like I cannot get a job because I have like zero experience. So both my parents have PhD, so all my life they're like, Grace, you're gonna get a PhD too. So I thought grad school was never a no choice for me. So I continued my master's in computer science engineering because like, oh, I want to work in tech. And then after kind of experiencing code development and also design, I came across this course on Facebook called Students Who Design. I took it, really loved it, changed my life, and I decided to go to product and UX design. Did a lot of hackathons, worked with startups, freelancing, and now I'm at EA. So yeah, quite a long journey. And I figured out, well, the main lesson I learned is to like, don't listen to people who tell you can't do something, like professors. Like it's okay, you don't have to like listen to them. They mean well, but then they're not always right. But it's also good to like take in their advice. They know what's right based on like what worked for them in the past. And just like
James
do whatever makes you happy.
For biomed.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's kind of how I got in. Just do whatever you want. As cliche as it sounds, like you don't have to listen to people who seem like authority figures in your life because you know what's the best for you.
100%, because it's your own life. You should live your own life. And I think like Grace is a super good example about how careers are not always linear. I know like JWoww always talks about how career paths are not linear. So if you guys are late or like early or confused, it's fine. Like your career path doesn't have to be perfect all the way through. So Melanie, how about you? How did you start?
Yeah, so for me, I've always been creative growing up. And eventually in school, I studied interior architecture. When I left school, I went into architect as an architect associate. I thought I was going to be a licensed architect. I was studying for my exams and everything. But I think quickly within the industry, I just realized that this wasn't for me. Amazing industry, and I applaud all architects out there, but I knew I wanted to transition towards UX and UI design at the time. For me at the time, I was in student debt. I did not want to pay 20K for a boot camp because I had a design degree. So I decided to learn online, take some online courses, reach out to mentors on LinkedIn, have coffee chats, right? So from learning from that, I would just conduct a couple of my own case studies and really practice on my own. After leaving the architecture firm, I actually went into graphic design for commercial real estate. And that really helped me understand typography, colors, contrast, UI, elements of product design. Architecture really helped me understand the UX elements of product design, because not only did I understand my users or the people I was building for, I worked with a lot of mechanical engineers, structural engineers, things that I could transfer into UX and UI design and product design, right? So with that being said, what ended up happening this year was that I participated in the MIT Beat the Pandemic Hackathon, produced my work, pitched my work, and one of the founders coordinating the hackathon really liked my work, and he eventually hired me onto a team, a part of inRecovery. So if you're looking to transition towards UX and UI design, build your case studies, reach out to mentors, and participate in hackathons, because you never know where it'll lead you. Yeah.
Great advice, Melanie. So practice your case studies, do something amazing, reach out to people. That is so important. I think like we heard how important it is from almost everybody to reach out to people and get mentors. We talk about it all the time. Networking is so important, guys. So yeah, hashtag networking if you guys think networking is important. Nina, on to you. How did you start your career in this field?
So I started out as a graphic designer. So we didn't learn anything about really like user research. As I mentioned before, it was very much typography, colors, understanding shapes, and a lot of the assignments weren't really anything towards like UX. But I've always known that I wanted to go towards something that I was catering to the user. But it was, so I started out, or let's go back. So I started out college as a computer science major, and I wanted to go into that field just, of course, because, parents and making sure that, I'm supported in the future. But then I switched out of computer science right away, because I just knew that I wanted to be in something that's creative. And then after that, I pretty much did, my own like design work, different things like that. And I started my own like freelance business. But then I wanted to understand how I could cater towards the user more. So I took classes by Indio, understanding how to be like empathetic towards the user. And I think after that, I knew exactly what I wanted to go into. But that's pretty much how I began my career. And I'm still learning as I go, of course, but yeah.
Super interesting, amazing, Nina. And learning never stops. So that's a great quote. Mike, what about you? What got you into your career?
Oh, for sure. So back in high school, I used to intern for like this indie game studio where I was just like one of the game designers. But then from there for high school, I majored in pharmacy because Asian parents they want to go into STEM. But I I grew disinterested in it and then eventually pivoted in my spring semester. I was doing like computer science and cognitive science, but I didn't really like coding too much. Like I'm still okay at it, but it's just like I'd rather go like have a creative outlet. So that's how I discovered UI UX design. And I felt like it's been a great journey since it's mainly been working at startups, helping them out. And now I'm glad to say I'm at like UNICEF and even applying to like the bigger companies. But in terms of like everything, I'd say getting experience is just like for startups, you can definitely get your foot in the door because they're always searching for people, like whether you're experienced or not, whether you're like a fresh grad, even like they don't really care because they need all the help. But it's been fun getting into this field because like you get to have coffee chats with designers, you get to like meet new faces and just learn new things every single day, and it's really enjoyable.
Love that. Thank you so much, Mike. So, guys, my next question is what skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential for you to be successful in your particular field? So, Mike, how about you start?
Oh, for sure. So in terms of skills, oh, sorry, I'm just pulling up my. I'd say in terms of skills, you need to learn like the more visual design skills in terms of like typography, color theory, and even like some psych things like Gestalt theory, in which like that's like you have like the two phases, but they're also like two faces facing one another. But that's besides the point. But it's just like learning the visual design skills also help. But in addition, like learning the UX skills are also important in terms of like prototyping and wireframing things. These can all be found like online, whether it's through like Coursera, I believe like edX, like Udemy, and like all these online resources. If you're like strapped for cash and you can't afford like a bootcamp per se, but in terms of things you can further do, it's just like learning up on these visual design skills, learning up on the UX skills, and then even just like brushing up on your communication skills as needed, because at the end of the day, you're communicating with like different teams among like marketing, like engineering, and a lot of different departments, and you need to be able to communicate well. But in addition to that, to finish, empathy is definitely really important because at the end of the day, you're designing for like other people and you want to know like how they use an app and how to best like work for them.
Thank you so much. Great advice, Mike. And there's so much of resources that people can tap into. They just need to know where to look, right? So guys, comment insightful if you guys find these tips insightful, because I did. All right. Melanie, what about you? What type of skills do you think will make someone successful in your field?
Let's see. Number one, do not stop learning. Like when you graduate, don't stop learning. I feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes. Like people think they graduated, I'm done with school, I'm done learning. No, you got to keep learning. Be super empathetic, read articles, read books, stay curious, build case studies on your own time, freelance as many projects as you can if you're transitioning or if you want to learn a new part of UX and UI design. Build the connections within your network and other networks, join multiple groups, join Design Buddies by Grace and everything. And along with learning your technical skills, make sure that that you are a great communicator and that you are good at your soft skills as well. And in terms of freelancing, if you're in that transition phase towards UX and UI design or product design, for me at least, a lot of my freelance work, or actually all of my freelance work, is all through referrals through friends, connections I built through organizations that I'm a part of. But I know there is, was it Fiverr and Upwork that you can look through as well. And also as a product designer, you need to understand the business language that your business stakeholders are speaking as well. And you have to learn how to use data efficiently and how to transition that within your designs. And for me, I took a business analytics class that really helped with my design. So I really emphasize that you guys try that out as well.
Wow, wow, wow. So many good tips from Melanie. Guys, use the hashtag Wow Melanie Words of Wisdom because she is spitting out so many great tips for you guys. So hit that like button if you guys haven't already. Grace, what skills and abilities and personal attributes do you think would make someone successful in your field?
Yeah, definitely self-awareness, knowing what you don't know, knowing what you know, knowing what you're good at, and mentor can often help with that. And also like design, I feel like the biggest misconception is design is just like pixel pushers. But in reality, it's like super collaborative. You work with a team, you work with product managers, engineers, be able to collaborate, communicate, and work as a team, and making sure that people are communicating. No one is like having misunderstanding. That's like super important. And also like knowing what you know while knowing what you don't know, putting yourself in a user's shoe, a lot of empathy, because when you're designing, design is like completely different than art. Art is just expressing yourself versus design, you're designing for somebody else. So having a lot of empathy, having a lot of self-awareness, and just understanding where you're coming from is super, super important. But also knowing theories, like as a UX designer, you have to balance both business goals and user needs. So having some understanding of how this design will translate to a business goal, whether it's cost saving, revenue generating, or solve a user need, and have to balance both. Like it can be really user friendly and be awesome for the user, but then if it doesn't drive the company revenue, then it's like then the business won't invest in it as well. So just having, I guess, sum it up, self-awareness, teamwork, collaboration, but also knowledge of business, marketing, and because like as a marketer, you want to convince users to do things. So well, a little bit of that, and also psychology to solving user needs, because the balancing act of balancing business needs and user goals.
Amazing, 100%. Thank you so much, Grace. Comment Grace in the group chat because she is saying so many great things. It's so important for us to be self-aware, and a lot of companies won't want to go into things that are not beneficial for them financially as well. So she is talking about a lot of good stuff which you guys should take note. So Nina, what about you? What do you think are important skills?
Well, all the skills that you guys have mentioned is amazing for the field, and I think it's important for any field that's not just design. Of course, like I believe that like your skills that is essential to like in UX design is definitely being observant and being able to see what the client is gonna need. I think Grace and Mike and Melanie had mentioned that empathy is huge. Being able to put yourself in their shoes and understanding this is what they need, but also being able to adapt. And I think coming from a design background, it's really, really hard sometimes to separate myself from my work and being able to be like, okay, like that design didn't go well, and being able to fail and saying like, okay, like that didn't work out. And yeah, I worked really hard on it, but now it's time to push something else that is going to work. And I think it's being able to be adaptable and being able to push forth what is best for the client and not for your own personal, gain of, oh, like I need to push my design out there because I worked on it really hard, but just knowing that this is going to be better for the user. And also being able to communicate. And all of you guys have mentioned that as well. Communication skills are really hard to come by. I think it takes a lot of practice, and especially during COVID time, we don't get to speak to like a lot of people. I can tell sometimes I'm like now, especially I don't know how to communicate as normally as I would with, like to human beings. I'm like, hi, how are you? But now I think being able to say things in a way that is like critical, but not to the point of, like very harsh tone, like knowing what you're saying and being able to be aware that, this like standing your ground on what you believe in and pushing the right things for the users, of course. Yeah.
Love that. Nina, so insightful, guys. If you guys find this insightful, comment #insightful in the comment section. It's so important for us to put our clients' needs over our own. Although we might have put a lot of effort in it, at the end of the day, we are designing an app for the client. So that's always so important for us. And communication is always key when you want to do your projects anywhere. Right. So I'm gonna move on to questions from the public. So we have a question from Kat, and she says, she's asking, do you think that marketing or information system is a good major to try and get into UX design? So, Mike, what do you think?
I'd say it's a good major because with information systems, I remember for some programs, they allow you to like understand information architecture in addition to like the more UX element. But I feel like it might not cover the UI elements. But I feel like in order to like bridge that gap, you could always take like gen ed courses in which you can dabble in like graphic design or like some other skills to like patch that up. But I'd overall say information systems is pretty good because it's just like at the intersection of like business and like and information. And even if you don't end up doing UI UX, you always have the fallback of going into business.
Love that. All right, so we have another question from Michelle, and I would like to direct this at Grace because Grace is the networking queen. So, is there like a specific template that you use, or like a specific skill that you use for cold messaging, and how did you overcome the fear of reaching out to strangers?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, like I didn't reach out to people until this April when I was having a little difficulties landing an internship because I had 0 connections and it was also a Rona season. So my mentor, who's a senior recruiter, told me that I should be looking to reach out to like directors and senior managers with this following script. Well, I kind of like changed in my own words. So I've always like say like I always connect with people and just like always leave a personalized message saying like, hello, I'm Grace, I am a student. If you're a student, stress that you're a student because it makes people want to help you more. So not flex, but like milk that student card or that intern card. And just say you're a student studying this, looking to work through a career in UX or product design, would love to learn about how you got to where you are today. So I just send that and then they can respond, and that leaves them the choice to respond if whether they want to respond via text, go on a phone call, go on a Zoom call, because people have different time commitments or comfort levels. So I always leave it really open-ended, and the goal of networking is to learn about that person instead of just trying to go in a mindset of, oh, I'm going to get something out of it. So networking is a two-way street, so I always make sure to ask how I can help out as well and develop like a mutual connection. And oftentimes they don't know how we can help out. Like they're like really thrown off, but a lot of designers, they would appreciate feedback on anything. So that's how I can help out. So yeah, I would just like in summary, like, hello, I'm introducing. Plus, if you're a student, add that you're a student, and also like just want to learn more about your journey, because people also love talking about themselves and answering questions, and people just love connecting generally. Fun fact, I sent 400 connection requests and had 30 coffee chats before landing an internship at EA, following that method. So like for me, when people didn't accept, I thought, oh my God, they're like ghosting me. Like, am I doing something wrong? But in reality, they're probably really, really busy, or they just forgot, or they don't have time, and that is okay. It just takes one yes to change your life. So just keep going. I've known people who sent like thousands of messages, and I sent 400 in the span of 2 months. Overcoming the fear of reaching out to strangers. Yes, I've felt that way so much. Like I used to be so shy. I was like, oh my God, that person will think I'm weird. That's the end of the world for me, right? And in reality, like no one really remembers in reality. And like for me, I definitely like I put myself out there on LinkedIn a lot, and like I receive messages from people who have all sorts of intentions. And for me, I just focus on like the people who are wholesome, and basically people who like are weird, I would just like basically say like thank you next. Like it's okay, it's totally normal to like get weird people. It's like, you know, part of life. People have all sorts of intentions. So for me, I definitely feel like putting myself out there, posting LinkedIn content. I've actually been on social media for a long time, like since I was on my blogging days on Tumblr in high school. So I developed a really thick skin by just like interacting with people. So definitely in the beginning, it's totally normal to feel scared, but over time, that feeling of feeling scared is only temporary. You develop a thicker skin and be able to say, if someone doesn't respond or someone isn't that nice, just say thank you next and keep moving on. So that's how I personally got over the fear of reaching out to strangers.
Right, perfect. Grace, I love that advice, guys. Listen to Ariana Grande. Thank you, next.
Yeah.
So, and like, just don't be afraid to send that message, as like Jonathan and Jerry always say, like, if they don't respond, the worst thing that can happen, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is they say no, or they just don't respond. And if they don't respond, then what do? You just move on.
Yeah.
And like, just take 30 minutes out of your day just to message people. It doesn't really take that much effort. And like Grace said it herself, 30 people before she landed her opportunity in EA.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can definitely do it too. We've got one more question from Josephine before I end the session. So she asked if there are any good psych books or podcasts which you guys recommend that you found helpful with UX. Any one of you guys can go if you guys.
I actually have a book right here. So this book I'm actually learning in one of my classes. It's called About Face, but like what I've learned from this so far is like they went through like the beginning. It was just like the more research elements. It was like user interviews, personas, and like the more research end. And then as it further developed in the further chapters, it was more like the visual design in addition to like other elements. But yeah, I brought this book here just hoping there'd be like a question like that. But it's definitely a really useful book though.
I actually have a list of books for you guys.
Thank you
to
for that question.
I also have a book here, but I'll send a list of the rest. So this book has really helped me. It's called the Design Thinking book, and it's very illustrative. There's a lot of photos in there for if you guys are visual and everything, a lot of content in here. But this book is really good. If you want to learn the whole process of product design from beginning to end, this book will help you out. Other books that are out there that will help you out, there's one called Hooked. I watched the author talk about his book yesterday and his concepts behind the book. Really, really good. There's also the Designs of Everyday Things, Laws of UX, Don't Make Me Think, and The Business of Design. So highly recommend those books.
I love how like you guys just like took something on your table. Yeah, this one. Got you guys.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
Oh, okay. I'm planning on reading my first book soon. I haven't read a book since middle school, but I heard they're really good. And, with all these information on the internet, it's always so confused where to go to. But books are especially important. This I learned from what I talked to last night. Books are by people who spent their whole lives in that field. So that can be like the one source of truth to kind of reduce all that noise on the internet. Because usually I just read a lot of Medium articles or anything that comes in Design Buddies. I just read it, or I read conversations and just like seeing what people say and just talking to people. That's how I've learned. So for me, I've always like learned by doing and getting feedback and stuff like that. Not necessarily books, but I heard they're like, that's my goal, to read more books as well. So thank y'all for all your suggestions. I definitely need to invest more time in that. But yeah, so personally for me, how I've grown as a designer is to just do things and get feedback. But I heard Hooked, Design Everyday Things. I'm also have The Making of a Manager. That one, I read part of it. It's really good. I'm still working on it. So yeah, that's another book that I like so far.
Awesome. Okay, so I am a podcast queen.
Great. And Nina, you were trying to say it?
Huh? Yeah. I love podcasts. I'm always listening to podcasts. I wake up listening to podcasts. I drive listening to podcasts. So some of the podcasts that I like is the Honest Designer shows. They talk a lot about, like different creative fields. If you're, from animator, from UX design, from building confidence in your career, by anything design related. And my second one is The Future by Chris Do. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he is the best mentor that you can ever have. And I don't even know him, and I feel this like very amazing connection with him. But he really tells you the nitty and gritty about what it is being a designer, how to price yourself, how to make sure you like build confidence in yourself. And then for books, I really like to read in terms of more technical things. So like user storyboarding. I don't know what the author's name is, so I'll probably send a list like later. But I think it's really important to kind of hear like different sides of design industry, not just your own, so that you can see like a wide range of perspective on how, you know, people like perceive like design in general. But yeah. Oh, it's kind of
I
Wow.
think you're muted.
Great.
yeah, are you new?
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. You guys are amazing. You guys like so prepared for this question. Like so like no wonder you guys are so creative. You guys read so much of resources and stuff. Love that. And thank you so much guys for like joining our panel today. We really appreciate you for joining us, and we look forward to having you guys again.
Thank you. Yay. Nice. Thanks, guys, for listening to us.
Sorry, I think I'm lagging a bit.
No, it's okay.
But anyways, thank you so much, guys.
I think she is lagging.
Yeah, she is.
I did want to say something because Tiara asked a question about.
And one more, remember, share your takeaways from today's session, tag our speakers, send personalized invites to them, and use the hashtag Wonsulting and October Speaker Series. Remember
The internet, man.
I know. I was like, I don't know where.
Yeah,
where we're at
guys.
right now.
And remember to hit that subscribe